to get my mindset right for a World Cup game, it requires a lot of effort, months and months in advance. I think about the training that I put in throughout the off season and how important it is that I put myself in high pressure situations, whether I'm hitting off a machine, whether I'm hitting live off of one of my other pitchers. How can I recreate this high pressure situation so that once I arrive at the World Cup game, I am relaxed, hopefully, and I am just letting my training show. I can have fun in that moment, and it shouldn't hopefully feel that pressure, or I can embrace the pressure. We talk about a lot with our team that pressure is a privilege, and we should be excited to be in that moment. So how do we kind of switch our perspective and lean into it? Whether, again, that's through our training, we do all the hard things there, whether it's facing really fast pitching or particular spin or putting something on the line like, hey, Nat, if you don't get on top of this rise ball, your teammate has to go run sprints. It's like, ah. So we try to create as much pressure as possible in that off time so that once we get into the game, hopefully I can look at my teammate and smile and say, like, this is why we're here. This is what we want to do. You can also talk about the day-to-day preparation and creating a routine going into that game to hopefully get myself into a state of flow, whether that's, for me particularly, like, I like to wake up early. I like to do my gratitude journal. I am one that loves movement. So you'll probably see me jump roping day of, maybe going for a walk, chatting with my husband, probably talking to my dog, things that make me feel good before the game. And then once I get into the game, I have my flow in terms of the stretches I like to do, the batting practice I like to do, the people maybe I most likely talk to before the game in terms of keeping myself calm, cool, and collected. The music I like to listen to. So there's a lot of components that go into it. And it's not just showing up and crossing your fingers and hoping that you kind of show up in that moment. It's you've showed up so many times before when nobody was watching. So when the lights turn on, you're like, I got this. Being a catcher and working with a lot of different pitchers with different personality types, different strengths, whether you talk about strength in terms of skill or in mentality, it requires a lot on my end. And that's part of what kind of drew me into catching is I like the component of having some emotional intelligence and hopefully being a helper, so to speak. I love being there for other people. I love kind of hearing them out. What do you need from me in this moment? And that may look very different from game 1 to game 3. So constantly communicating with my pitchers and kind of checking in on what's going on. And you know what, again, kind of similar to before, that happens earlier in the season than just in the World Cup. It's about having tough conversations in the off season. Like, okay, Dawn, when you are really struggling with the rise ball and it's a big pressure situation and I need that pitch from you right now, what cue works for you? What do I need to say? How do I need to act? What does that look like? And so we kind of have a baseline understanding of what that looks like going into it. But then again, as humans, you don't know how people are going to react in big pressure situations. So if I feel like we're not on the same page, taking a moment, whether it's in between innings, whether it's in the middle of an inning, whether it's before the game, after the game, and just saying like, hey, I can't read your mind. This is what I'm thinking. Does this work for you? Is it horrible? Like, where are you at? And I'm not always perfect at it, and my pitchers can attest to that. But I try to be as open as possible to hear them out and give them what they need in that moment. Sometimes it's a little kick in the butt, like, hey, I need you to show up here. You got this. You've done this a million times. Other times it's like no words are needed and just like eye contact in that moment of like, hey, be present, just do it kind of thing. Other times it's I need to go out and tell someone a joke and just get them to calm down. Like, we've done the hard things. Like, we both know that. Now just like do what you always do. So it is really hard, but it is a beautiful relationship. Again, it is continuously evolving, and so are we as individuals. So just kind of continuously checking in and hearing them out in that moment. Developing with Team Canada and having the incredible honor and opportunity to represent the Maple Leaf has been challenging and amazing, and I wouldn't want it any other way. When I first got with Team Canada, I was just in awe of the athletes around me, and I had no idea what I was doing in terms of owning my preparation and my development. I was just trying to soak in everyone around me, like, wow, these are Olympians. These are people that hit the ball 300 feet, it feels like. So at the beginning, it was a little bit like starstruck. I had watched some of these athletes play when I was 10 and 11 years old, and now I was standing side by side with them, listening to our anthem. I think some of the key points in terms of my development has been learning to be a little bit more fearless. I think at one point in my career, about midway through a couple years ago, someone asked me, "What are you so afraid of?" In that moment, I had no idea what they were talking about. I'm like, "I don't think I'm afraid. Like, what do you mean?" And in that moment, I kind of stepped back and thought about it. And I was incredibly afraid of failing. I was afraid of messing up, letting my teammates down, letting myself down, my family, you name it. I had so many fears that I had never really kind of faced. I had suppressed them at that level. And so, someone really, really important to me, when they asked that, I think that changed my development in terms of my mentality and my approach physically with things. I started realizing that I needed to ask way more questions and own my development instead of being comfortable with being told what to do. And that was a tough conversation with different coaches about that, but it was ultimately the best thing for me. They said, "Natalie, you need to figure out what it looks like for you to be prepared, whether that's mentally, physically, emotionally, all those things." So it really took me purposely saying yes to things in my life that made me very uncomfortable, knowing that that was going to make me a better athlete at the end of the day. Whether that was saying yes to podcasts or public speaking or going to hit with someone that I was very intimidated by. So all these little things started adding up. And the more I started getting out of my comfort zone, the more I grew, the more confident I became that I could overcome quote unquote hard things, hard situations. So then when push came to shove and it's a big moment and the game's on the line, I felt way more comfortable that I had done all the things to prepare in that moment. If I look at my career, I have always been a workhorse. There's no doubt about that. I'm the person pushing the heaviest weight I can in the gym. I would always do extra reps. I would do anything that the coaches told me plus more. And now it was about, how can I steer this ship a little bit more and own what that looks like moving forward. And it was empowering and scary and all the other things. So I think as much as I can encourage myself, my teammates, the young athletes I work with, how can we fail really fast and get comfortable with it and start doing it on purpose to get us to the direction we want to go? And that takes being courageous and fearless in very scary moments. Mental health is really, really important, especially if you're trying to be an elite athlete. I think years ago, the only focus was on mental performance. How can I be ready to perform at an elite level? How can I focus in this one task and try to be my best and hit the home run or make the diving play or whatever, strike someone out? But we didn't really talk about the mental health component of high pressure situations, of trying to be successful at something, at just honestly being a human. Because as athletes, I'm a human. I think the sports world is becoming more comfortable and more athletes are speaking out on the fact that we struggle too. We're not perfect. We are not always feeling 100% confident. It really stood out to me throughout COVID when all of us were obviously at home in a different scenario than we're used to. And I realized that a lot of the athletes, the younger athletes that I was working with, thought I was perfect, thought I was always confident, thought I never doubted myself, thought I never had flaws. And I'm like, wait. We need to kind of rediscuss this and make sure that your perspective is correct. I struggle. I cry. I have bad practices. Sometimes I don't feel like going to lift. Like, there are a lot of things that I go through as a human. And I really wanted to make them see that it's okay. And it's something that we can be open about and we can work through and we can invest in ourselves. I think mental health is the foundation for mental performance. We need mental health in order to then get to the next level of mental performance. And it is not a weakness to invest and work in that side of yourself. I think it is a strength. And the further I get along in my journey, the more I try to be outspoken about that and talk about it. Something I've kind of worked on with social media is hashtag unedited self. This is me. I'm crying. I have a pimple today, whatever that looks like. And I'm going to get through it by doing all these different things that I know how to do in terms of my tools in my toolkit. And it was scary at first, but it was kind of aligned with the whole I need to be fearless and kind of expose myself a little bit. The more comfortable I am as is, flaws and all, whether you look at me as a human or me as an athlete, the more comfortable I'll be in those big situations. And I think hand in hand, it's made me more confident in life, whether that's with my business, my schooling, my future degree in medicine, like all of these things, but also as an athlete, it's made me more confident in the fact, you know what? I'm really good at X, Y, and Z. I'm struggling with this thing over here, and that's okay. I can now ask people for help. So be it. So I think we're getting there as a community in terms of the sports world, and it's just important that we continue the conversation about mental health. Okay, I love this question. I have the incredible honor of not only have being Kaylee Rafter's teammate in the past, but now she is my head coach. She is a legend on the field and off the field. I remember when I was 11 years old in British Columbia, Canada, I watched her play in the Maple Leaf, and it was my first time watching Team Canada play. And I looked at my mom and said, like, I want to do this. Like, this is something that I want to do in the future. And my mom kind of giggled at the time, but I was like, no, I'm serious. So to then a couple years in the future become her teammate was there's no words. She is unbelievable in terms of her knowledge with softball, but her emotional intelligence and her ability to communicate, educate, empower those around her is like, we are so lucky to have her. Throughout our process as teammates, we were the tag team. You know, she had her strengths, I had my strengths, and I could learn a lot from her, which I adored. And I could fill in spaces to make sure that she was ready when she needed to thrive and in that starting catching role. And for her now to take over the head coaching position and to already have rapport built with a lot of the players that were in the program before made the transition so easy for us. I still consider us a tag team, so to speak. There are strengths that I have, and there are strengths that she has, and together, I think we are quite the dynamic duo. I continue to learn from her a lot, and whether that's in sport or in life, and I feel very, very fortunate to have her in my corner. I think at the beginning of my career, watching her do her thing, I felt like I had to be her. I had to be tall, strong, like all these things. And I had to own whatever her strengths were. And now it's more about, okay, like what do I do really well? What can I incorporate from her? How can I kind of mesh those things together so that Team Canada, I show up as the best version of me moving forward instead of me trying to be someone I'm not. And she's really helped with that. And I know I'm speaking for my whole team, but I know we all feel very, very fortunate to have her represent our team and us as individuals. Looking back at the moment at the World Cup, whether you look at the catch in foul territory in extra innings or the big hit to tie up the game, I feel incredibly fortunate to have competed with some of the most fierce competitors you could ever imagine, and women that would show up regardless if they were struggling at bat or they were hitting 700, they would show up the exact same way. And that was relentless belief in themselves and what they were capable in that moment. And going into that at bat or going into that moment defensively, my only thought was to be present, period. I couldn't worry about what had happened the 3 at bats before or 2 games before or what was going to happen the next pitch. All I could think about was being where my feet were, and that was going to give me the best shot to be as successful as possible for myself and my team in that moment. That being said, I have teammates around me rallying and also pumping my tires and getting me ready to to feel that belief in that moment. And without them, I'm not sure I would have been in that same headspace going in. And that belief and those conversations happened maybe before my bat, but also happened 6 months before when the really hard stuff was happening. And they're like, listen, you're going to have a lot of misses before things come together. And you got to trust the process, and you got to stay in that moment, and you got to just keep going, whatever that looks like. And in that moment, those words just kept replaying in my head. Trust the process, be here, and do what you need to do in this moment, and let the cards kind of lay at that moment. So I want to give a lot of props to the women around me in that moment, but also the women before me that kind of showed me the way, paved it, spoke by their actions, held themselves accordingly, and didn't let things phase them from the past or the potential of quote unquote not great things happening in the moment. If I can take a breath, if I can be present, then my chances of success are like skyrocketing. This ring, being an Olympian, the ink on my forearm, whatever, all the different representations of something that I've accomplished means the world to me. Going to Tokyo 2020 was the hardest and most rewarding thing I've ever done in my whole life. I consider the individuals that I went to that tournament with family forever. We went through the ups, the downs, we called it the pit. And we grew up a lot. We had to go through hard times, good times, all the different things. And throughout that journey, there were multiple times that people said, you can't do it. You're not big enough. You're not strong enough. You're not fast enough, whatever the case may be. So to be able to endure that and push through and show up and have hard conversations and build character throughout it, really, really built a lot of confidence within myself. I wear this ring and I think back to the hard stuff I did when I'm faced with adversity and obstacles within my everyday life. I know that if I'm going to try to achieve anything big, if I want to be successful in anything I do, there's always going to be adversity. So having the reminder of like, you can do hard things, you've done it before, you'll do it again, is a really, really good reminder for me to continue moving forward, to continue pushing the needle, whether that's the hard practice day that I had yesterday or a big exam I have with my medical degree. Like there are going to be challenges that I'm faced with, and just remembering to put one foot in front of the other and to continue being fearless in the pursuit of that.